We are so glad that you have tuned in today. Today is an important day to answer this question. What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be free? Why do we celebrate July 4th? Why do we fight for what we fight for or stand for what we do? We're not fighting for freedom, we're fighting for opportunity. The opportunity to come here from any place, in any land, with any language, with any religion, with nothing in your pockets except a dream. And have the opportunity to build that dream. That's what we are as Americans. Now, what dream is being built? Is it your dream? Is it someone else's dream? Or is it a nightmare? Dark Future premieres today. Let me just go over some of the headlines today. These are just today's headlines. The riots in France have now become anti-Semitic. Now, we were told that the riots were a George Floyd moment. No, they're not. It is a massive problem with immigration. And who did this immigration over in Europe? Who was the one pushing for it? Were the people of France? Were the people of England? The people of Germany? Were they pushing for all of this immigration? Were they opening their arms and saying, oh, we want everybody from Syria. We want everybody that can come in. Iran, come on in. Were they saying that? No, they weren't. Who was? It was the United Nations and the global government corporations that were saying that. And we were saying the whole time, it's fine if you want to become French, but they don't want to become French. Now they have riots, and they become anti-Semitic. What a surprise. Next headline from the New York Post. America's beaches covered in poop. Unsafe. 55% of more than 3,100 beaches tested in 2022 had fecal contamination. Oh, at unsafe levels. That's not hey, let's go to the beach this summer, shall we? Antibiotic shortages expected to worsen. Why do we have antibiotic shortages? Why do we have that? Why? Well, because we're building a new global community. Even though we said, hey, let's make sure that we have jobs, even though we have a government that is supposed to protect our rights. If you don't have antibiotics, what do you have? What do you have? If everybody is dying from an impacted tooth, what do you have? Meanwhile, 50 Cent now has said that LA is doomed because the city has now reinstated their no bail policy. He said, quote, watch how bad it's going to get. New York's drug supply is the most dangerous ever. Brown University students are identifying as LGBTQ+. Yeah, it's doubled in 10 years. It's now 40% of Brown University. The students are now saying, LGBTQ+. Really? Huh. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan had the proper response after NBC posted a claim that white supremacists online were trying to use physical fitness in order to seduce people to come on in to be a white supremacist. Apparently, if you're fit, you're a white supremacist. New York City is now proposing hiring private security for migrant facilities. Wait, what is that? They're too volatile, too dangerous for unarmed peace officers, says New York. However, they want you to know that while on one hand, the city is telling you how safe these migrant centers are in their own neighborhoods, the city is spending millions of dollars to keep people safe at the migrant facility. So it must be the facility itself. The mayor says the primary role of security is to ensure the safety of guests and the staff while creating a welcome, safe space for all individuals. No, if those individuals are violent, I don't want a safe space for them. I want them on an airplane headed back and never coming back. But that's not possible. A new report from San Francisco, the Chronicle, found the sanctuary city policies has aided the drug dealers from Honduras so much that they are sending so much money home that in Honduras, there's a real estate boom. See, this is the plan. Is it your plan? Is this your plan to have poop on our streets and on our beaches, crime in our city, migrants everywhere? There's absolute chaos. Is it your idea to have so much drug activity on the ground that they're taking your money and shipping it out to another country? They're getting rich on our drug-addled cities. It's nothing but it's the drug. It's the drug cartels that are getting rich and taking your money out and giving it to third world countries. That's great. We're giving it to criminals. We're giving it to criminals. Why? Because we have no faith in anything anymore. You don't have a drug problem in a country that doesn't want to have a drug problem, doesn't take drugs. By the way, Politico is reporting today, digital money is getting closer. And Axios, how AI will turbocharge misinformation. John Kerry told us yesterday that the problem with the Ukraine war is that it's contributing to climate change. Sure, 50,000 Russians have been killed in the war in Russia, untold numbers on the Ukrainian side. But the real problem with the war in Ukraine is climate change. Meanwhile, we just found out that Russians infiltrated the Ukrainian intel, and they used the FBI to censor social media. Anybody have a problem with that? Or that the Chinese military is now training kindergartners for war in boot camps all across the country? Kindergartners. What are we teaching them? That their private part can be removable at any time that they want. And a lawsuit in Massachusetts. Google has put spyware on residents' phones. Did you know that? Well, it wasn't just Google. Massachusetts Department of Public Health allegedly colluded with Google to secretly install COVID tracking spyware on smartphones of more than 1 million citizens in Massachusetts without their knowledge or their consent. And they made it impossible for people to even find it to take it off. They were tracking people. They have access to your email in an unbelievable step towards China, as the New Civil Liberties Alliance group is suing them. Massachusetts and the governor says, well, no, but I mean, COVID is over, so we're not using it anymore. Why are you still suing us? Meanwhile, the feds had to have a judge tell them to take free speech training before asking social media to censor. The United States government, your president, went in front of a judge yesterday and said, hey, I mean, we've got to talk to social media. Can you lift this injunction? And he said, no. If the defendant's interpretation was accepted, an agency could simply instruct a sub-agency to perform the prohibited act and avoid the consequences of an injunction. Violation of the First Amendment constitutional right, even for a short period of time, is always irreparable injury. You had to tell the President of the United States that? Meanwhile, we've got Congress, they're on top of it, the House Financial Services Committee. They're going to hold separate hearings tomorrow and on Friday to examine ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance investing, whether or not that's going to affect things in a negative way for people. The last time they debated ESG, it just went into yelling at one another, devolved into combative debate over race and the term woke. Oh, God. So what is the state of America today? New York Times looked at 37 cities across the U.S. with the data just from the first 3 months of 2021. There had been an 18% increase in murders over the same time period of 2020. And they said at the time it may be hard because the FBI is changing the way crime figures are reported, so it might be difficult to identify national trends after 2021. They looked at data from 70 urban areas for the first half of 2022, compared it with the same period of 21. They found there were increases in murders in 30 areas. Similar trend identified by the Council of Criminal Justice. This is a report from July which looked at 10 categories of violent, property, or drug offenses in 29 cities. They found the number of homicides declined slightly in the first half of 22 compared with the same period last year, but the homicide rate is still 39% higher. Across the 29 different measurements, 38% of Americans now say, I guess I'm satisfied. When you break it down by all aspects of life and policy issues, the same story emerges. 41% are satisfied on the 7 aspects of life measured consistently over the last 2 decades. That includes quality of life, the system of government, how it works, the influence of organized religion. 41%. Statistically insignificant difference from the 39% that were satisfied last year, and last year was the lowest on record. Faith in the policies that we have to reduce crime, state of the economy, quality of education, 35%. That's the lowest ever measured. Majorities say they feel fearful, 62% of Americans. Angry, 55%. As they think about the state of our country. Fewer than half feel hopeful, and only 20% now say they feel proud. Meanwhile, the religious landscape of the United States continues to change at a rapid clip. 65% of Americans adults describe themselves as Christian when asked about their religion. That's down 12 points. A few weeks ago, Boston played host to the largest satanic gathering in history. SatanCon kicked off. Meanwhile, NPR says America's satanic panic returns, this time through QAnon. Well, and that's why we want to save children, just because QAnon. Meanwhile, The Atlantic says, why is witchcraft on the rise? Our borders break new problems every day and new records every day. 1.6 million encounters so far in 2023. So far, 204,000 in May, 88,000 unaccompanied minors in 2023. 7,553 criminals crossed the border in 2023 so far. 365 sex offenders crossed in 2022. 184 sex offenders have crossed so far in 23. There's an epidemic of missing children. What's causing this? By the way, a survey of U.S. adults, especially millennials, increasingly endorse Marxism and a rejection of private property and traditional morality. According to Pew, 50% of Americans now believe colleges and universities are having a positive effect. Only 50%. 38% they're saying having a negative effect. I can't believe that number is that high. When Pew inquired about opinions on technology companies, churches, religious organizations, national news media, banks, large corporations, labor unions, it found that no more than half of the U.S. believed any of them were having any positive impact on the country. All right, so there's the problem. Now, do you want to live this way or do you want to fix it?